Mary Elizabeth Parker here, and this week I'm going to talk to you about me finally watching The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. It's actually a pretty interesting story and makes me even more so want to read the book. I have gotten flack for having notes with me sometimes, but oh well. One of my friends actually picks on me for having notes sometimes visible in the shot. If I end up pulling them up, it's because I don't want to get something wrong. So, Henrietta Lacks, for those who don't know, is the woman whose cells were taken, not donated, taken, when she was in for a biopsy for cervical cancer. And they were the first cells that they found to be viable for several days, and they seemed to reproduce pretty quickly. Apparently, cancerous human tissue divide and reproduce independently for what they found in her. And so it gave them the chance to do more research. I still think they should have informed the family and at the very least Henrietta about taking her cells and wanting to use them for the future. This was at Johns Hopkins, in case anybody wants to know who it is who did take her cells. And apparently there was recently a case in California that the judge did decide that tissues taken while in for a medical procedure and being kept to use for research is okay. No permission needed, no reimbursement needed. That's a whole other can of worms. This movie was really about the woman who wrote the book about it with the same title, and her name is Rebecca. Oh, I have it somewhere. But anyway, first name is Rebecca. And she is trying to get the family to work with her and coming against obstacles and them going back and forth as to whether or not they're going to help her or not. Deborah is the main one and played by Oprah Winfrey, who's also the executive producer of this. It reminds me of what a wonderful dramatic actress Oprah is. She's really underrated. I think maybe because she chooses her project so carefully, and she can. I don't blame her, but Color Purple, she's very well known for. There's several other dramatic roles that she has done that just amazing. So her character has a lot of issues, and I think some of it does come from not getting to know her mother. Henrietta Lacks did have 5 children. She had a daughter who was unable to even take care of herself. She had some mental challenges. Heartbreakingly, she did put her in an institution where her daughter did die, but it was after Henrietta had died. And that's part of Deborah's quest, is to make sure that all of Henrietta's children and family are included in this story, because it affected all of them. Don't just bury the ones that aren't necessarily seen so much. One of the sons had gone to jail, the youngest. She actually gave birth to him while dealing with the cancer. And he changed his name in jail, so his last name is not Lacks. I did take lots of notes and go and research afterwards, but I'm probably not going to share all of that with you. You can find it yourself if you want to. Really, it's more of a review of the movie. So, there are a few things I found that were not true, which is often the case in a true movie. They'll embellish a little bit. It's implied that there's a gravestone at Henrietta's gravesite in the family plot. Now, at the time that the book was being written, that was not the case. There was only one family member who had an actual tombstone in that family plot, and it was believed that Henrietta was buried near her mother, who was the person with the tombstone. Since this all occurred, Deborah has died, so she never got to see that, yes, her mother now has a gravestone. Let me see if I can find. The headstone was, I wanted to give credit where credit's due, and if I mispronounce names, I'm sorry. So the headstone was donated by Roland Patillo who was a faculty member at the Morehouse School of Medicine, and it was donated in 2010. Deborah died just months before the book came out. It's Rebecca Skloot who wrote the book. So May 12th of 2009 is when Deborah Lacks died in her sleep. Now, when the grave was donated for the mother, Henrietta, the family also raised funds to get a gravestone for the sister who had died in the hospital, and they dedicated him on the same day. So I'm glad that they were able to do that for their family. That's pretty special, that she's starting to get the recognition that she deserves for so many things that her cells have gone on to help us with. Because her cells were able to help researchers come up with polio vaccine and testing it, cancer treatments, AIDS treatments. It's a pretty impressive list of all the things that her genes were able to do. They have mapped her DNA, which after that the family there has been an organization, a board put together to control the information out there regarding her gene mapping and the DNA information. And 2 of the members on that board apparently are members of the family, which, again, progress, yay! It is important to bring attention to the fact that this has happened. The one part of it is that they really wanted compensation, which I understand if they had made more profit on it, and they did make some profit from the sounds of it. I can't be 100% sure because I don't know what the cost of harvesting, keeping them up, etc., etc. But I'm guessing with general experimentation, probably didn't make anything per se. But what about the drug companies that have now made money off of the advances made off of her genes? That could be quite an amount, in my opinion, so it really, you'd think there'd be some compensation. Now, throughout the movie, there's a distrust of Rebecca by the family because they worry that she's really just there to take advantage of them, to steal their money, or, well, not really steal their money, but get a profit where they haven't. They think somehow she's getting paid to do it sometimes, but luckily she gets them through each time. Deborah especially tends to suffer from issues of paranoia at times, but they do get through it, and I think it's amazing that, yes, the book did come about to be, like I said, I really want to read it. I haven't had it come in the bookstore I work at yet. Keep waiting. That happens a lot, where I wait for a long time for books I want to read at work. But it takes a long time sometimes for things to come in, and then somebody sees it before I do. So, also, as a result, Skloot did create, the book came out and was 9 months after Deborah died, and it stayed on the New York Times bestseller list for nearly 6 years. And Rebecca Skloot established the Henrietta Lacks Foundation in 2010. So, patient consent is still not required for research on human tissue obtained during medical treatment if the donor's identity is removed. So for a long time, Henrietta's DNA, her cells were actually marked as HELA, the first 2 letters of her first name and the first 2 letters of her last name. So they're also known as HeLa cells. A lot of scientists have used these cells, and again, I think it's kind of great that they do incorporate some of the scientists who are so grateful for having these cells around. One of them, who's at Johns Hopkins and a cancer researcher, does give an image of their mother's DNA to Deborah originally through Rebecca, and then she gives it to the youngest son after they go and see the DNA cells in person. Hopefully I'm not giving stuff away, but if I am, I'm sorry. So that's nice. The one critique I would say I have about this movie is it tends to take the drama and the lightning a little too long at a time in big blocks. I feel like they could have done the lightning, which gives you a relief as a viewer. I don't know how many people know about pacing who are watching this, but it does give a little bit of an ease up for a viewer. So I kind of wish that there were more moments of levity mixed in sooner or more often instead of having just big chunks of levity. It is great though that they flash between the past where she is this young mother. She was 31, I believe it was, when she died, and the time that she's going through all this stuff. It's pretty intense, and you can tell there's a lot of pain in that family. They feel taken advantage of. They lost their mother at such a young age. She went under these treatments where they insert tubes into their radiation tubes to treat the cancer. The cancer did spread, so she did die, unfortunately, but I mean, obviously, probably the most. But yeah, it was actually a pretty good movie. It can be a little bit of a downer, so if you're if you're not in the right headspace, don't watch it at that time. Wait until you're feeling a little better and a little happier. But like I said, it was excellent in my opinion. I do like some of the imagery that they used and some of the parallels that they used. For example, when Deborah has a flashback to something earlier at their home before they moved to Baltimore. Something triggers it, of course, but it's a pretty dramatic memory, and it seems to trigger more memories. Unfortunately, there was a lot of, like I said, a lot of tragedy in their lives. Everybody has tragedy. It's just how we all deal with it. Hopefully you enjoy this video about it. Hopefully you don't get too upset with me for having notes for a little while during it. I'm going to probably end this here. I don't know what to say about the tragedies that are going on lately in the world. It's hard for me to deal with those things. I can usually cope if I understand the why. Until I understand the why, I have trouble coming to terms with it. Now, once I understand the why and come to terms with it, it doesn't mean I approve of the action. It just means, okay, I can understand how they got there. Still not okay what they did and where they got to, but can at least understand the why. So, unfortunately, there's a lot, excuse me, tickly foot, there's a lot of science out there that did come about through immoral practices, and really that's one of the things I'd like to see more of, is moral science. At least have the participants be willing, not forced into it somehow, whether it be their DNA, their cells, their blood, their bodies. As long as they choose to take that path, that's where I really think it's important. Yeah. So, like I said, I'm probably going to finish it up here, and I hope you're all having a great day. I haven't figured out my Random Facts Friday yet, but I will, and I'll probably start researching that right after finishing this video. Hopefully I'll get on a schedule where I'm not recording the same day that I'm editing and putting it up. And that way I can get a little more free time with getting it done to a better level. So when I figure out my Random Fact Friday, hopefully you'll tune in for that. I don't know if it'll be about Memorial Day or something else. I know I've done a lot of the holidays lately. It's just one of those, it's topical, it's right there. So yeah, please tune in for that on Friday, and I appreciate you tuning in on Wednesdays for this one. I hope you have a great day, and please try to be kind to each other. Thank you.